The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, this is Monica Main and welcome back to this version of the Ultimate Manifestation that I'm doing. So as you know that this is part of a series, so I'm doing a multi-video, multi-presentation series to teach you exactly how to attract the things that you want in your life. So this one's going to be probably the most significant, although the one I'm going to be doing next is also equally as significant for those of you that really want to understand absolutely everything that you need to know to get everything that you want in your life. So this one's going to be a powerful presentation. And the cool thing about all of this is that you'll be able to watch the recordings later on, and I will be posting all of those up as soon as this entire series is over. So please be aware that all of this is being recorded for later viewing in the event that you happen to miss something, or maybe that you can't do this entire presentation with me. This will be kind of a long presentation. So I'm hoping that all of you enjoy it, because what I'm going to be sharing with you is the actual real secret, the secret that even the secret actually left out, believe it or not, of both the video as well as the book, The Secret. And so unfortunately for those of you that read The Secret or watched The Secret, you have to understand and know that the secret that was actually left out is the most significant part of attracting the things that you want in your life. So let us begin here. So you're probably wondering, well, what is the real secret? And I'm going to show you in the most simplistic terms, and that is changing your vibrational energy. So all of you are vibrating at a certain frequency right now. In fact, all times of each day, you're attracting things, and what you're attracting is based on how you're vibrating. And so if you're not sure how you're vibrating, usually you could tell by how you feel in the very pit of your stomach. So if you're feeling like you're kind of not really overly excited about anything, you're probably vibrating at a lower level or a medium to low level. If you're super excited about something, like you feel like you just won the lottery, or you just feel completely exhilarated, then you're vibrating pretty high. If you're depressed, you're definitely vibrating very low. So what we need to do is have I guess you could say, take a concerted effort in forcibly changing how we're vibrating, so that ultimately we can attract the things what we want. Because what happens is that when you're vibrating lower, at lower energy vibes, meaning that you're depressed, you're angry, you're upset. Typically this will happen when you're watching the news, which is why I tell most of you, if not all of you, to stop watching the news, because this will pull you down into these lower vibrational fields, and you don't want to be there, because then you start to attract all the other things that go with this lower vibrational energy, including car accidents, having no money, having people abuse you or mistreat you, or just feeling just really crappy, feeling like you're angry, feeling like you're depressed, and you don't want to feel that way. So at the very least, even if the other things don't happen, which typically they do happen when your energy low is, when your vibrational low is at this low of a peak state, if you will, or a low state, chasm state, you're going to attract all of this stuff, the bad stuff. So you'd only wish that the only thing that you're attracting is being in a grumpy mood or being angry or upset, because typically you're attracting everything else that goes with it, including people that are going to be mistreating you, people that are going to be harassing you, things that you probably don't want to deal with. So it's not like you're going to not have these people show up, because they will show up every so often to try to, damage how you're feeling, try to make you feel bad, but it's how you process that makes you, rise above that, if you will. So the whole idea is for you to actually raise your energy level. And there's a way of doing this. There's actually a couple of ways of doing it. And the only thing that I've really covered with my students in the past is one particular method, one particular way in the presentations that I've done in the past, which we're going to cover in this one. But I'm going to talk about another way as well that I use more so now than ever, because I've actually been able to make a shift, which I'm going to talk about how that shift works and when you can go from one strategy to the other strategy. And so what we do nowadays is we focus on this one particular strategy, which I'm going to talk about in the very, very end of this presentation, which you don't want to miss, to get you from the low vibes to the high vibes as quickly as possible. In fact, many times you're able to pull it off within 10 to 15 minutes. If you do it correctly, if you do it the way I'm going to show you how to do it. So when you're vibrating high, you get all the good stuff. In the very least, you get to feel really good. You actually get to feel that you've won the lottery, or at least that sense of feeling where, nothing can go wrong. You have the world, in the palm of your hand, and you just feel that way. I actually felt that way all day yesterday. I was really vibrating at a high level, a high rate, if you will. And even when people do come in and try to, rain on your parade, they don't bother you. They don't even affect you at all, and you just don't respond to it. So it's not like those people completely disappear. The news will always be there. There'll always be bad news out there. Things are always going to be happening out there in the world, but then how you process it changes and how you see it changes. And so it's not like those things disappear. It's just that now when you're vibrating at a higher level, you start to attract other things. The only things that are other things that are attracting are actually vibrating at a higher level. That's what you'll start to attract. So until you change from a lower or higher to a higher vibrational level, you're not going to be able to actually start attracting anything, which means that you could do all the affirmations you want, you can make as many vision boards as you want, you can pray, you could do whatever you want to do, but if you're still vibrating low, you're only going to attract what's at the other lower level, and that's all the bad stuff, all the things that you don't want in your life. So until you actually start changing your vibrational levels, you're never ever going to get the stuff that you want. Never. Because everything that you want is at the higher vibrational level. All the money you want, all the, career, fame, fortune, whatever you want. Love is at the higher level. People that are friends, good friends that you can rely on, they're at the higher level. So everything that you want is at the higher vibrational level. And until you are actually vibrating at that higher level with them, you're not going to be able to attract any of that stuff to you. So that's the whole point of it. And unfortunately, that's the point that The Secret failed to mention, was the vibrational level. They talked about everything else, visualizing and all this other stuff, but they never actually directly talked about changing your energy level from a lower vibration to a higher vibration, which is required and necessary if you're going to attract everything that you want in your life. So you're probably wondering, okay, that's a great theory, that's a great message. However, how do I go from a low vibration to a higher vibration? Because it's very easy to succumb to the lower vibration pretty much all the time, especially just to flick on the news, and you can perpetually stay in a lower vibrational level pretty much all the time, especially with everything that's going on now with the bombings and the terrorist stuff and, our political situation. It's very easy to remain at the lower vibrational level. So you first have to make a commitment that you need to start disconnecting from that stuff, because that will keep you in the lower vibrational realm, which is not where you need to be or want to be when you want to, in the very least, again, not necessarily to attract the things that you want, even though that's a big part of this, but just to feel better. I mean, don't you want to feel better? I know I want to feel better. I want to feel good when I'm, going out in the world, and when I'm helping others and wanting to relate to others and talking to others, and when I'm depressed and down and angry and upset. I don't even want to talk to strangers, or I don't even want to have a conversation with anybody, or I just feel bad all around. And so not only am I doing a disservice to myself, but I'm doing a disservice to my fellow human beings around me as well, because I'm not feeling good, and therefore I don't want to talk to anyone, and I don't want to spread any joy or happiness with anyone because I just don't feel good. And so by you feeling better and raising your vibrational level, you not only feel good, regardless of what you attract at this point, because it does take a little while to start attracting things, but regardless of what you attract right away, you're going to feel amazing, absolutely amazing. And then that's going to parlay into how you treat other people, and that, of course, is going to they're going to turn around and treat you better, and they're going to respond to you better, because everybody responds to somebody who's happy and happy-go-lucky, that they respond positively to that. At least most people do. So, you're going to be doing a service to yourself as well as the world around you. So obviously when you elate yourself, meaning that you raise your energy levels is the highest possible point, you start drawing in everything else that's on those levels, and all the good stuff that you want in your life is at that level. All the bad stuff kind of sits at the bottom. And when you're vibrating low, you only attract the stuff that's at the bottom. But when you want the stuff that's high, then you need to vibrate high. So the first thing that you're probably thinking is, okay, this is all fine and well, but how does this connect with the things that I want in life? Now we're going to go through this, kind of back to front, front to back, so bear with me on this, because I did this for a reason here. And that is, first we're going to talk about how this relates to the goals that you have, how you can actually draw things in specifically. Then we're going to talk about the actual methods and strategies in which to use to raise your vibrational levels. So say that you have a goal, for example, it's to make $30,000 a month, and that's not to gross that. We're talking profits in your pocket, which means you're probably going to be grossing anywhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a month gross to be able to profit about $30,000 a month. So say that's a goal, and I'm sure most of you in this room that's listening to me it could probably agree that this is a pretty damn good goal, and it's definitely achievable, by all means. And so there's a couple of components that determine how this is going to work for you. We need to talk about where you're at right now and how you are in conjunction with the goal, because a lot of people, they like the genie in a bottle theory, where they just sit and pray in a corner and all of a sudden these checks are going to be mailed to them from the clouds. Well, that's not how it works. The earth plane is set up a specific way. We have something called commerce. You do have to get out into the world and actually offer a product or service to people, because that's the rules of the earth plane. So you have to play by the rules if you're going to get what you want financially, and in any other capacity as well. But we're talking mainly about the financial stuff here, because that's mainly why most of you are here. And so, we need to talk about, what we can do from where you're at now, and then we need to talk about how we can get you to where you want to be or where you want to go. And so that's again, this is how the linear way that things work. And then of course you can start bending things as far as how the universe works by just simply elevating your vibrational level. So we need to talk about or look at where you're at right now, what type of mainly psychological obstacles that you have, and the emotional obstacles, and if there's any physical obstacles. Physical meaning, are you in a wheelchair and you want to do certain things that require you to be physical for your business or for investing in real estate or whatever you want to do, because you do have to have a vehicle in which to get from point A to point Z, which is where you want to be financially. And by vehicle, I mean a way of doing it, a business, a type of investment, something that allows you to be able to work within the perimeters of the earthly plane rules, which is obviously you do have to have something going on in commerce to be able to extract money from people, to be able to ultimately put that into your bank account. And so you need to see, okay, so what are my obstacles? Well, most of you have the psychological and or emotional obstacles. Many of you do not actually have the physical obstacles, and if you do, there's usually ways around that thanks to technology. So we're going to be mostly focusing in on your psychological and emotional obstacles, because that's basically all the obstacles there are. And I'm sure you could sit there and argue with me saying, well, I have resource obstacles, or I have this obstacle or that. You really don't have any of those obstacles, because there are people that come to this country all the time starting off with nothing, coming from third world countries, and they're able to make major successes out of themselves from coming from absolutely nothing, including having language barrier problems, including having a variety of other problems that they have, and yet they come here because they see the opportunity and they believe in the opportunity, because the opportunity is here. Unfortunately, those of us that live in North America have found that we have more obstacles that we think we have that we really don't have, especially in comparison to what other countries are about and what they have. And so, you have to understand there really is no obstacles when it comes to resources, because most of you have access to resources. You have access to being able to build up credit if you want. You have access to be able to get the education that you need to be able to put forth some kind of business or put forth some kind of not just an investment endeavor, but maybe some other type of thing that you want to do to make money. So you have the access to all of that. So those are your resources. So don't think that the resources are the obstacle, because it's not. It's all about the psychological obstacles, the things that you believe you can't do. That's where the obstacle lies. And then of course you want to look at where you want to be, what's your end goal look like, how much do you want, per month, what does it look like to overcome that, and then of course, what is the chance that you'll actually be successful in attaining it? Now, if we're talking about the $30,000 a month, obviously we have to figure out what that's going to be. Are we investing in real estate to get that? Are we investing in some kind of online business? What are we doing? But the chance is pretty damn good that you're going to be able to pull it off, provided that you're willing to sit down and actually do the work and do the stuff required to pull it off. That's what it all comes down to. And in order to be able to do that, we do have to get through those psychological obstacles that you have. All right. So this might be now, and then later we need to visualize what we want in the future. So we're not going to really so much focus on now as far as the state of being that we're in, more so as we're focusing in on why we are not where we want to be. And so these are your obstacles. So, most of it is mental and emotional and psychological, and it's usually all rolled up into one, which is what stands between where we want to be and what our dreams are. And so in order to be able to get, obviously, from point A to point Z, you have to start eliminating those blockages and those obstacles. And they're nothing more than your thoughts. That's it. It's just a bunch of thoughts that you've decided have some kind of credence and truth, And because you thought this, obviously now it's becoming an obstacle in your way of success, because there are really no other obstacles if you think about it. There is nothing. I mean, anything you think you can tell me is not an obstacle. So if you think, oh, I don't have enough resources, well, I could beg to differ with you. In fact, many of the times that I've started businesses, especially with my direct mail marketing businesses, I've only started with a couple $100s. And most of you can come up with a couple $100s some way, somehow. So that's not a resource. I mean, it's all in your mind, these obstacles. This is my point. And we need to get past that as soon as possible so that we can work quickly past your obstacles and move towards success. Because life is not what you think it is. You know, a lot of people come here and they're like, okay, well, you know, I need to sit here and really ponder on what my purpose is in life. And I was doing this too a lot, especially after I turned 40. I was like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And then I realized that the journey itself is the purpose. And so if you think that you're waiting around to be able to actually pull the trigger on what your purpose is supposed to be, you're actually already living your purpose. And so I think the biggest psychological disadvantage that most of us have is that we think that we're supposed to be on or supposed to be figuring out some other type of, you know, a major accomplishment purpose that we're supposed to all have. It's like, no, we're already living the purpose. We're already living what we're supposed to be doing and living. The purpose is not really a career. It's what we're supposed to learn in the interim, having mostly to do with the emotional and psychological aspect of life itself. You know, it's the emotional stuff we need to get through. It's the people, the relationships that we have with people. That's the stuff that we're here for. We're not here to be able to see, okay, who's going to make the most money, because whoever makes the most money is the one who wins. It's like, that's not how this whole thing works. The journey is about the emotional stuff that we're going through, mostly with ourselves, but also with the relationships that we have with other people. So that is the journey. We're already on the journey. We're already living the purpose. So if you're one of these people that just is so stuck on this whole purpose thing, and I'm not living to, you know, my maximum potential and the purpose, it's like, okay, well, what can we do to make you feel like you are? And I can guarantee you that the second you raise those vibrational levels, you'll start to feel that you're already living in purpose merely and solely by raising those energy levels. And that's all you have to do. And then automatically you'll feel like you're in purpose. And then if you truly are not in purpose, then the universe will actually guide you to that purpose or to what you should be doing just merely by raising your vibrational level. So for those of you that actually feel like you're off purpose or you're off your, you know, your path, then just start raising your levels, your energy levels, and the universe will quickly put you on your purpose and on your path that you should be on, because it's all about raising the energy and raising it as quickly as you can and keeping it up there as much as you can. And that truly is the secret behind not only getting what you want in life, but also having the universe guide you, especially if you feel like you're off or you need answers to questions, or maybe you don't even know what kind of business you want to be in, but you know that you want to make that $30,000 a month or whatever it is. Then the second you start raising your energy levels, the universe will actually start guiding you and will give you ideas and will give you answers, and it'll just start coming to you. And you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. And it'll usually be like 2 or 3 in the morning when you'll just think of this idea, which is why you should always have a pen and pad of paper next to your bedside, because these ideas always come as whispers in the middle of the night, because that's usually when the universe feels like it can actually get to you and actually give you messages directly. And so it's basically God whispering to you and saying you should do this, or this is the path you should be on, or maybe you should think about that idea, and it'll all come to you usually in the middle of the night. But again, the stuff doesn't start coming until you start raising your vibrational levels and until you actually start connecting with the source, and that's how you do it, by raising your energy. So, you know, like I mentioned, life is just not what you think it is. You might think it's about finding purpose. It might be this, might be that. And a lot of us find that we're fighting life and we're not letting it work, you know, for you. You're working against it. And by vibrating at a low level, you are actually working against life. So you need to stop doing that, okay? So what's stopping you? And I can tell you all of this is internal stuff, the baggage that we have, which is the fear, the failure, the anger, the lack of self-worth and no confidence, disappointment. It's all psychological stuff, because there's nothing wrong with the 2 hands that you have. There's nothing wrong with the brain that you have between your ears. All of these things that you have already are the same things that multimillionaires and multi-billionaires have. And that is, they have two hands, they have a brain between their ears, and they just decided that they're not going to let any of this stuff hold them back, and they're just going to do it anyway, versus the person who just sits there and says, you know what, I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that, and I can't blah, 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 and then they talk themselves out of it, and then they sit there and do nothing. So that is the only difference between someone who makes it and someone who doesn't. It's just that they simply psych themselves out and they believe that they can't do it for one reason or another. You just got to pull the trigger and say, you know what, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it until I finally make it. That needs to be your new motto. And so in reality, again, none of these obstacles actually exist. They only exist in your mind. And the cool thing about raising your energy levels is that even if you can't figure out how to psychologically manipulate your way around these obstacles, automatically by bringing up your energy, you'll start to feel so much better. You'll start to feel unstoppable to the point where none of these things will bother you or stop you anymore. Automatically, you'll just want to forge ahead and move forward rather than sitting in a corner crying because you think that you can't do it. All of those days will be long gone and over with the second you start raising those vibrations, those energy levels. So your revelation will also be, and that was a huge revelation for me, is that once you start to raise that energy, those missing feelings, the feelings that you're probably thinking right now, like something's missing out of your life, or you need more money, or you need this and that, all these things that you feel like you need will start to evaporate the second you raise that energy. And the cool thing about the universe is that it kind of likes to work in a vacuum, if you will, to where it's kind of the opposite that you would think. So the more desperate you feel of that you need something, you know, the universe will avoid that desperation. It will avoid that feeling of, you know, emptiness. However, when you feel like you already have it and you feel like you don't need it, then the universe comes and tries to fill that in for you, give you more of what you already feel like you have, because that's how the universe works. And so, you know, when you start to raise your vibrations, you start to feel that you already have everything that you need. You have everything that you want, and you feel freaking fantastic all the time. And the universe really is attracted to that, to where it'll start giving you all the things that you before thought that you were missing, because you now feel like you don't miss anything at all. And that's the cool thing about this whole thing, is that it really does help you during the times when you feel like you're lacking, because now you don't feel like you're lacking anymore, and it just really services you in that capacity, because it's really cool to feel like you have everything and that you've conquered the world, even though maybe you physically haven't yet, because it takes away that pain of that emptiness. Nobody likes to feel that sense of emptiness, that feeling that you're missing out, that you're broke, that you're not where you need or want to be in life. And so once you start to eliminate that feeling, that in and of itself is very powerful. And then shortly thereafter that, the higher energies start to fill in all of that stuff that you felt like you were missing out before, because these are still your desirability levels. And you're matching now those levels of energy that's required to start pulling these things into your life. So the bottom line is that you just need to raise your energy. And this is the part that the secret failed to expand upon, failed to directly tell people, and it really was them doing a disservice. And I'm not sure if they just didn't want to tell anybody, or that there's some part 2 to this video that's going to come out one day and they're going to reveal the real secret finally. I don't know, but this is the part of the secret that they never wanted to tell you about. All right. So what we're going to do is work on jumping past your obstacles, first the psychological obstacles, and then the energy obstacles that we have to get you to where you need to be and want to be for your success. So now what I'm going to show you is something unconventional. Some of you already know this, but bear with me, because I'm going to get to the really good, fast energy raising technique after this part. But this is mostly to get past the psychological part, which is a very unconventional method. And it starts, of course, with the understanding of your body's energy systems. Your body has, in my opinion, 2 different types of energy systems. One is an actual physical energy system, and the other is more of a spiritual energy system. And so this is the physical energy system, the one that directly correlates with some of the psychological and emotional obstacles that we have. So for example, when you fail at something so many times in your life, there actually is a direct brain connection between you failing and you wanting to try again. And so say, for example, you're someone who's failed at every single relationship in your life, whether it's your family relationships, whether it's a physical partner, marriage, any kind of relationship that you've ever had. So you have a 0% success rate. Well, automatically your brain's going to be trained to believe on a very physical level that you are a 100% failure when it comes to relationships. So if there's ever a new opportunity that comes or arises to where you could try another relationship with somebody, you're going to be very cautious. You're maybe not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to pull the trigger on it. You're not going to want to move forward with it because of the 100% failure rate. And so how do you retrain your brain to want to take that risk or to try it or to go for it if you feel like you have all of these obstacles? Well, you need to first ask yourself if you think it's worth it to try it, because it might not be worth it to you. You might be like, well, you know what, I have this super successful business right now, and I'm pulling in all this money, and I'm really happy with the way my life is, and I'm taking 6 vacations a year, and I'm okay with not being with someone, and I really don't want to roll the dice on that type of relationship, and I don't want to, potentially fall for somebody and get married and then them take half of my assets or whatever, and I'm just not willing to do that right now. And that might be okay, but that needs to be something that you on a conscious level decide to do and realize that that's the reason why you're doing it. If you're pulling back from wanting to try it because of all of the connection that you have between your brain and body and the prior outcomes that you had with these other relationships, and that's the reason you're not doing it, then you need to also be aware of that so that you can decide, A, I'm going to try it, or B, I'm not going to try it. But that needs to be a very conscious decision that you make, because it's okay if you decide not to take that chance or that opportunity. But I believe that most of you that are having problems with success in your life, it's because there is a brain-body connection with prior failures that you've had, whether you've tried businesses or investments or other things, to where there actually is a physiological response, a negative response between your connection of success or potential success and how your brain feels about it, which is unfortunately why you're probably not following through with the businesses that you've been doing or with the investments that you've been doing, or you've been talking yourself out of things at the last minute. And years ago I used to tell my students, I'm like, listen, success is not by osmosis. You can't just simply show up to one of my events and then just automatically assume that you're going to be successful because you came to an event. And then I've since recently changed that, and here's why. Because I've had students of mine who show up to these events year after year after year. They seemingly do nothing, and it really disappoints me, the trainer, the teacher of the event. But then one day something snaps in their brain, and they're like, they're seeing these other people in the group, and they're seeing some of the same students over and over again. And then all of a sudden these students are coming up with success stories, and they're starting to build their businesses, or they're starting to build their investment portfolio. And so they start to see that it's possible for them too. So eventually, through osmosis, literally, they start to become successful because they start to pull the trigger. And it's all coming down to them pulling the trigger, if you can kind of get that theme here. It's about finally jumping and doing it, and instead of just talking about it or thinking about it, or and pulling back at the last minute. And so there is sort of success that comes with osmosis. That's why they say that you should pick your friends and your family very carefully, because who you hang out with, the average, what do they say? They say that the average, I guess, profits, or the average income that the people that are around you, say there's 10 people, and their average annual income amongst the 10 people is, say, $50,000 a year, you're probably going to be around $50,000 a year. If you're hanging out with those people all the time. And so, yes, success does come through osmosis, because if you start hanging out with higher net worth people, you're ultimately going to start bringing up the energy with them, and you're going to start bringing up the possibilities and what's possible for you, because you see them doing it. So now you can do it, because you can see them. If you've ever been with rich people, you would very easily and quickly find that there's really not a big difference between you and them. Yesterday I was in Beverly Hills, and I haven't been down there in a while, and I have to say I really enjoyed being down there, because number one, I felt like I was with more of my own kind. When I'm living up where I am at now for the reasons of my daughter and custody and all that other good stuff, that's the reason I'm up here, which is in northern LA County. So when I go to Beverly Hills, it takes me about 40 minutes to get down there. And when I'm up here, it's like a different mindset. It's like a bunch of wannabes, you know, the wannabe mindset, like the wanna have money mindset, but they're so cheap and they're so stingy and selfish, and they're just really distasteful people that I live around here. So I disassociate myself with pretty much everyone. So when I go to Beverly Hills, I actually associate with people much easier, you know, and I kind of miss that. In fact, I was actually thinking about moving down to that area in the next couple of years because I really do get along with people, and they're more of my kind. But I was thinking about it yesterday when I was talking to some of these, you know, very high net worth individuals who are just like average everyday Joe Blows, just like you and me. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, if any of my students actually had conversations with these people just to understand and realize how much these people are worth, they would be shocked at how these people are just like you and me. They seriously are. If anything, the many of them are very humble. They're very easy to talk to. And that's the last thing you would think about if you were going to Beverly Hills. You think that you're dealing with a bunch of snobs, people that would want to talk to you. And yes, there are some snobs here and there. You know, there's going to be that anywhere. But a lot of the people that I was talking to all day yesterday, I was just like, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to come back home to my area because I felt like I was just, they were my people. They were part of who I was. And you know, and to realize that, you know, when you're dealing with people that are also of a higher energy level, they respond to you, they want to talk to you, they want to deal with you, you know, and any one of those people I could have done any kind of business deal with, any of them, because we all got along. That's probably part of the reason why I was vibrating at such a high level yesterday, was because I was finally with my own people. I finally felt like I was with people that were me, were like me, and we're at the same energy level, and they're all vibrating at a very high level. For you to get wealthy like that and you to have a net worth of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, you have to be vibrating at a high level. And so again, it's all a matter of you starting to vibrate higher, to start pulling these things, these people, these opportunities into you. All right? So let's talk about your energy systems. You actually have a physiological energy system. And so when you're depressed, there's actually there's a disconnect between, you know, you psychologically, where you should be and where you are. And so this causes a disturbance within the body's energy system, and then of course it brings everything else down. Now I was struggling with this a couple of years ago a lot, and I was having issues because I only had like half the story with what I should be doing with the energy system. So I'm going to be telling you what the half of the story is, and then I'm going to be telling you the part 2 that I was missing, that actually changed everything for me, because I was struggling with, you know, almost being obsessed with how do I increase my energy system, how do I change it, how do I start changing the brain pathways, and I was getting so trumped up and caught up with this whole obsession with how to do all this that I just wasn't doing it correctly. And so I was struggling through it because I felt like it was too much of a scientific thing, and I wasn't bringing in enough of the spirituality element to it. And so negative emotions actually start to create a permanent pathway in the brain. So just like your linguistic or language skills that you have, your mathematics skills, anything else that you know, you actually have these brain pathways. So if you've ever seen a picture of a brain, you can see that there's some deeply ingrained pathways that are in the brain, and this is when things are learned conditions, learned emotions, even all of this stuff starts to ingrain a pathway in your brain. And so the more you do it, or the more you think about it, or the more you follow through with something, the deeper the pathway gets. And unfortunately, this is why they say the older you get, the more set in your ways you are. It's actually the older you get, the more set your brain pathways are, which is why it's very difficult to change. This is also why it's difficult for people who come to the United States, especially from the Asian population, where they come here, and if they come here too late, it's very difficult for them to learn the English language, because their language is a bunch of symbols, and it's just very difficult to enunciate the English language based on their brain pathways and how they were trained with language. And so it's all the brain pathways that determines what you learn, what you do, what you follow through with, how you retrain yourself. And I think this is part of what Anthony Robbins teaches with the neuro-linguistic programming, where you change your state of being, you change your state of mind, you change your actions and how you do things, and then ultimately you start changing the brain pathways. I don't think he actually tells you directly that this is what you're doing, but this is actually what you're doing. He's also missing parts too, as well as, you know, some additional things that you should know about changing that stuff, which is part of what I'm going to be teaching you today. All right. Now, this is why positive thinking and affirmations never, ever work. It's because when you start to visualize your goal or your desire, unfortunately, your body's energy systems doesn't believe it. So it starts almost revolting against it. So, for example, if you're laying there and say you're just doing a very calm and peaceful meditation, and all of a sudden you start to think, well, I'm going to start manifesting that Mercedes that I've always wanted. So I want an S-Class Mercedes, and I want this and I want that, and it's going to be black, and it's going to be this and that. Well, all of a sudden, when you start to do this, you're going to notice that instead of it being a positive affirmation or positive thinking exercise, it's actually going to start to turn into a negative thinking exercise. You're going to actually start to feel it in your pit of your stomach that you're revolting against it, because you're going to be thinking about different things like, oh, I don't deserve that, or I can't get that, or I don't have that, or you know, this isn't possible for me. And it's actually going to start to cause a negative chain reaction within your body's energy field, which is dangerous if you're trying to attract things in your life, because now you're doing more damage than if you did no visualization or no affirmations at all. Because, you know, doing no affirmations and no visualizations means that you don't have the negative body or energy reaction to the visualization or affirmation. And so this is why none of that stuff works, is because if you're saying over and over again, I am rich, or I am this, or that, I am that, the first thing the body and the mind is going to tell you is, no, you're not, because the brain is trained to give you factual data. It's trained to give you the logic behind everything, because it does this to protect you. And so if you're saying, I am rich, the brain's going to say, no, you're not. You're deluding yourself. And again, the brain's only there to protect you. The brain is there to make sure that you're able to make decisions day to day that are not going to cause danger to you and to the people around you. And so that's the brain's job. So don't hate the brain for doing its job correctly. You know, hate the system that somebody trumped up for you that doesn't work, because it's not working with the brain. It's actually working against the brain. And so then once the brain starts spitting out this data saying, listen, moron, you're not rich, you're deluding yourself, stop deluding yourself, then now all of a sudden the brain starts to excrete these very negative enzymes that go along with the negative affirmations that you thought were positive affirmations. And now all of a sudden you have a negative reaction within your body. Then all of a sudden you have this negative energy field that's starting to arise from all of this stuff that's going on, and then it starts to record within the brain pathway as a reaction to it. And this is a domino chain of, you know, of events that's happening within your body every single time you start to do positive affirmations or positive visualizations. So I'm going to be the first one probably to tell you to stop doing positive thinking, positive affirmations, positive visualizations, because that does not work. It doesn't work with the brain. It doesn't work with the brain and how it's built. The brain is built. It's a wonderful, wonderful machine that you have. The brain is built to protect you. It's built to give you logical stats and logical information to be able to help you base your daily decisions, your moment-to-moment decisions, to be able to make the right decision so that you're not walking off in the middle of traffic, or you're not going to say something to somebody to get you know, to put your job in jeopardy, or you know what I mean, or you're not going to, you know, say something to somebody to get you punched in the face, you know. So your brain is there to protect you. So instead of diminishing the value of your brain, instead learn how to use your brain to be able to start getting the things that you want, and how to first, of course, get past those psychological obstacles that you have. So the most effective secret to getting what you want, and of course helping you raise your energies, is to not really visualize any specific goal, more so visualize the feeling of getting the specific goal. So instead of visualizing the Mercedes that you want, for example, you know, visualize what it feels like, and it's more of a feeling visualization rather than a visual visualization or an affirmation visualization, if you will. So you want to eliminate the verbal stuff. You want to eliminate the visual stuff so much. You want to feel it. Feel what it feels like to have the car that you want, to have the career that you want, to have the investment opportunity that you want. Feel it in the pit of your stomach, and this of course helps you not only attract these things in your life, but also helps you raise your energy, which again is what's needed and required to actually ultimately attract this in your life, if you kind of get that. So it does two things. It raises your energy level, and it helps you attract that into your life at this higher energy level where this goal and this dream and desire is already. And so please remember, all the stuff that you want, everything that you want already is already out there. So, you know, if you want $10 million in your bank account, that $10 million actually exists somewhere. It's just right now in somebody else's bank account, and we need to figure out how to get it from their bank account to your bank account legally and ethically, of course. And so it's just a matter of you vibrating at a higher level to actually start to attract the things that you want, because those things that you want are already in existence. They already are there. And this was a big thing for me to understand, because I always felt that the things that I wanted were just some, you know, distant, far away fantasy land of non-existence, and I just had to do all of this, you know, magical work to pull these things in existence that didn't exist anywhere else. And then once I realized, wait a minute, these things already exist somewhere. It's just that they're in somebody else's legal possession, and I need to attract it into my legal possession. And of course, if it's already in their legal possession, they obviously did something to attract it into their life, and so I can attract it into my life as well. So the things that you want already do exist. You just have to start vibrating at a higher level to be able to start pulling these things in, because all the good stuff is vibrating already at the higher level. And you need to start envisioning things a little bit differently. You have to start feeling it in the pit of your stomach. It needs to be more of a feeling visualization rather than a visual visualization or a verbal visualization. So you should start to get rid of the verbal visualizations or the verbal affirmations. Start getting rid of the actual, you know, visualizations, meaning that you're actually picturing it in your mind's eye, and just focus, and at least initially, just focus on feeling it in the pit of your stomach. What does it feel like to own that Mercedes? What does it feel like to finally close on that first apartment building that's going to bring you $10,000 of passive income a month? What does it feel like to finally have that internet business going to where you're actually pocketing $30,000 a month? What does it feel like? And don't even think about what it looks like. Don't even think about what the picture is associated with that. Don't even say anything verbally about it. You just feel it. And just know in your hearts of all hearts that you can actually do this, because if other people can do it, you can do it too, okay? So, again, when we're at the lower vibes, this is the type of stuff that we're attracting, which is the stuff we don't want. And so merely, all you need to do is raise your vibration. So if you can't figure out anything that I'm telling you, don't understand anything that I'm saying, the bottom line is this: stop vibrating low and start vibrating high. You might not even have an idea of the stuff that you want. You just know that your life sucks. It's a suck fest right now and you hate it, and you don't even have a direction because you feel like you're just so tied up in this suck fest life that you just don't even know what you want to do with your life anymore, and that's okay. All you need to do, though, is raise your vibration from the low vibes to the high vibes, and you'll start getting the higher vibrational ideas. The ideas will just start coming to you. The ideas will come to you so fast that you won't even be able to write them down fast enough, and all the different things that are suitable for you, not just anything that you could do for money or anything that you could do for investing or anything that you could do to improve your life, but it'll be things that are suitable directly for you, for your personality, for who you are as a soul and as a being on this planet. So that's the cool thing about this, is because nobody is going to know more about what's more suitable for you than the actual universe and God himself. And so the cool thing about this is that you can get the whispers directly from God when you do raise your vibrational energy levels, because you might not have a clue as to what you want to do for a business or what you want to do for investing or what you want to do, period, but you know that you want a better life and a different life. So all you need to do initially is just raise those higher vibrational energy levels, and then you'll start getting the ideas that you need and that you want, that are, again, suitable for only you and not for anybody else on this planet. So the older we get, the psychological stuff is harder to get rid of. It's harder to overcome, which is, again, why a lot of older people are just set in their ways. They say that most people that are past the age of 33 are just so set in their ways that they're not going to ever change. I disagree with this because there are ways that you can actually start changing the brain pathways and your body energy systems by doing certain things, certain strategies, which I'm going to show you in a second. Now, certain out of whack body systems, which some of you might actually have, your body system might be so out of whack that doing anything and all of these things might not actually work. And that's why I want you to all join me on the next presentation that I'm doing, because I'm actually going to give you the final layer, the final secret to all of this. The thing that's actually made the most instrumental change for me, and it had nothing to do with any of the spiritual aspects at all. All of this stuff together needs to work together. So the last time I talked about feng shui, that's essential, changing your energy around you. Now we're talking about changing the energy within inside your body. And then the last thing I'm going to be talking about is going to be something you're probably not going to expect at all. But you need to do it all. Okay, don't just pick and choose. Okay, well, Monica said feng shui, so I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to do any of the stuff she's talking about today, and I'm not going to do any of the stuff that she's talking about in the next presentation either. I'm just going to do the feng shui. It's like, no, no, no. You have to do it all. You have to do the feng shui, move the energy in your immediate surroundings. Then you need to do all this stuff, and then you need to do the stuff that I'm going to be talking about in the next presentation as well. You need to do it all if you want the changes that you're seeking out here, okay? And so for those of you especially that really have an out of whack system, a body system, your mind is just all off kilter, you're psychologically screwed up, all of the stuff that I'm working with, it's not going to work in and of itself. It's the final piece to this puzzle that I'm going to be talking about today that's really going to work for you. But first, we're going to talk about what we call EFT. And that is emotional freedom, where actually medical doctors are coming on board with all of these, these healing techniques that I just talked about. But we all start with this with a scale of 1 to 10 to figure out where we're at. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about a couple different things. It could be a physical ailment. I've had people do this with physical ailments. I've had people do this mostly with emotional and psychological obstacles. So you choose a scale of 1 to 10 to figure out where you need to break through. And if you're having problems with success or following through or focusing on a business, then that's where it needs to be. It needs to be the obstacles that you have for success, because the issue probably is that you feel like you don't deserve success, or the issue probably is that you've failed in other things before, so you're afraid to try. And so that's your issue. And then you need to figure out on a scale of 1 to 10 where you're at. So this can also work if you're upset, if you're unhappy, if you have physical pain, psychologically, mental, emotional pain. These are the things that are holding you back, is all of these things. Now, you might have so many different things that you don't know where to target, but we need to start with something that's probably holding you back when it comes to following through with success, or following through with a business, or following through with some kind of investment. Is what is holding you back. And I can guarantee you it has to do with fear of success or fear of failure. One of the two. And I'm probably going to be not the first one to tell you this, but if you don't do it, you've already failed. So really you have to do it if you're going to even see what's going to happen, because if you sit on your ass and decide, I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid I'm going to fail, it's like, but you've already failed because you didn't do it at all. So you can't do any worse than that. You know what I mean? But you do have to zero in on this very first issue, having to do with what is stopping you from success. And then you do what's called tapping. This is emotional freedom. This is emotional freedom training technique, whereas you tap to be able to start to change the pathways that you have. So this is the physiological aspect of it. This is not the spiritual aspect, which I'm going to talk about next. It's the physiological body-mind connection, or body-brain connection, to where you can actually start changing the formation of the pathways that are directly connected to why you're failing in life, why you're not successful, why you're not pulling the trigger on projects, why you're not following through with anything, why you're not focused, why you're losing so much energy to the point where you're not doing any of the projects that you're planning on doing. And it's because you're not all there as far as feeling like you could be successful, and that's holding you back. So this is called EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And what you do is you start everything off with the karate chop area. So you basically take your dominant hand, which is the hand you write with, and you're going to start tapping on the karate chop area of the non-dominant hand or the other hand. And that's where you start the whole process. And then you start tapping on all of these other areas of your face and down through your collarbone and underarm, and then of course back to the top of the head, because again, you're trying to make the physical, it's like almost like an acupressure type of thing where you're actually doing the actual connection between the physiological aspect and the brain connection to start changing those connections that you have between the brain and your body. All right, so you start with the karate chop area, and you tap about 5 times, starting again with the karate chop area, and that's formulating what the issue is. And then, of course, you start tapping through all of the other areas that I pointed out. This helps you start to release those limiting beliefs that you have. This actually works extremely quickly, and it starts working immediately. You'll start to feel the buzzing in your head and the face area, and then you'll start to notice that you're going to be more progressive and feeling better about success, feeling more confident with yourself within a couple days. And I recommend that you do this every day, especially as long as you have any kind of emotional trauma that you're working through, any kind of psychological obstacles or issues. You should keep doing this tapping until you actually force yourself through it. So round 1, you'll do your karate chop area, and this is sort of a affirmation that you could use, but all of the affirmations on the karate chop area always end with how you deeply love and accept yourself. So no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you're working through psychologically or physiologically, you love and accept yourself as you're going through this. So you start with the karate chop area. And then what you do is you start with your eyebrows, and the first round is actually considered negative. Some people have wondered, well, why is the first round negative? It's like, well, the first round is negative because you're trying to tap into the areas of your brain that actually does have the brain pathway that's already pre-programmed to think negatively about yourself. Because, you know, life isn't all about just focusing in on the positive thinking stuff and there's something wrong with you if you don't focus on the negative. You do have to focus on what's wrong so that you can fix it, so that you can ultimately break through and focus on the positive. So the first round is actually kind of negative. It talks about how success is eluding you, you're frustrated with it, you've tried things and nothing seems to work. And so you actually go through this because you're trying to tap into that area of the brain that actually believes this, okay? And then when you go into round 2, it's what I call the neutral round, where you're actually, you know, talking about why things are not working. You know, you're talking about why success is why you believe success is evading you, how you're kind of blaming yourself for it because you start things and you don't finish them. You're kind of anxious about trying new things because things have failed for you. You know, so you kind of go, so this is more of the neutral round. And then the final round is the positive round, where you're actually, you know, starting to reprogram the brain. So you're actually technically reprogramming the brain, because now you still have the physiological and brain connection going. The same pathways are being targeted, but you're now telling those pathways something new now. All right, so you're changing the programming. You're literally changing the programming in your brain and how your record is playing. And I struggled with the relationship aspects of my life. I struggle a lot with that, and a lot of it has to do with pre-programming. So I use this EFT stuff to actually change the programming, because I was having the same record play over and over, and it was actually like a record playing in my head over and over again about some of the things that I've been telling myself over the years. And I realized a lot of it was subconscious, and so I brought it to conscious light so that I could start to do the EFT stuff, and it's actually changed everything. It changed how I view myself. It changed absolutely everything when it comes to that in my life. And so this is how you start changing that really bad programming, is by starting with the negative to, again, tap into the area of the brain that believes that, getting into the neutral state, and then changing it into the positive. And because you're doing the physiological tapping, you're actually connecting the brain and the body together. And that's how you start to change the programming in your brain. All right? And then after you're done, you do your deep breathing in and out, and then you pick a number between 1 and 10 to represent how you feel, which needs to be lower than what you started, and it will be lower than where you started. Ultimately, you want to get down to a 1. So if you need to do the rounds like 2 or 3 times to do that, so be it. And then if you need to do that, you know, this once a day for a week on this one particular issue or obstacle you have, so be it. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to do this tapping to really, you know, create a major change in you. So certainly you could find a couple minutes in each day to do this, to start getting past those obstacles. So the main obstacles you probably want to focus in on would be the ones that you have about success, or feeling like you're not worthy, or feeling like whatever it is, whatever the first thing that pops up in your head when you think about becoming successful in a business or becoming successful as an investor. What's the first thing that pops up in your mind? What's the first negative thing? And for many of you, it's going to be, oh, I don't have the resources, or oh, I don't think I can pull it off, or oh, I've tried that already and it failed. So latch onto that thought and then tap through it as many times as you possibly can until you start changing the programming and how you feel. And tackle them one by one, and then pretty soon you won't even have any psychological obstacles, and you'll just go out there and mow through it and start pushing through life as if you're riding in a steamroller. You'll just start rolling through life, and that's where you need to be. All right. Now, there's the next part. This is the part. This is the part that makes all the changes. This is the part that creates that higher vibrational level, and this is the part that will show you exactly how to attract everything that you want in your life, is breathing. So you're done with the tapping part now. So say, for example, we're doing a session. We're doing a meditation session for about 20 minutes, which is what I'd like to see you guys commit to for at least once a day for the next couple of weeks. And so you start with your tapping, tap through all of the problems that you have with success, tap through all the obstacles that you have, tap through even stuff that's bothering you emotionally or otherwise, or even physically. And then the next part of your meditation session at the very same sitting needs to be your breathing part, okay? Or maybe you've gotten past the part where you even need EFT tapping and you just want to focus on just raising your energy levels, because this is the quickest and easiest way to raise your energy. And again, you need to raise those vibrational levels if you're going to be successful or attract the things that you want in your life, because everything that you want in your life is already vibrating at that higher level. So you need to match that higher level in which all the stuff you want is already there. There's 4 major elemental breaths. They say that there's actually 5, but I only use 4. So if you're going to send me an email stating, there's 5 or there's this or there's that, this is the way I do it. This is what I actually do, and I'm assuming that most of you probably want to know what I do rather than what you're going to read on some blog on the internet. Now, if you want to, expand your knowledge on this, you can. You can always go online and find the 5th elemental breath, but I only use 4. All right. So to start, and you could even have this for your tapping as well, but I have this pillow that I get from Dharma Crafts. I can't remember the name of the pillow. It's called dharmacrafts.com. You can get this pillow or meditation pillow anywhere. The reason I do this is because I have an issue with sitting in the lotus position, mostly because of my back and my legs. I'm not as flexible as I used to be, so I like to sit on this pillow. But anywhere you are, if you're feeling very relaxed, it's ideally you want to sit up, because I tried doing the breathing exercises laying down, and for some reason it's like my head needs to be positioned to the ceiling or to the sky to be able to get the maximum benefit from raising my energy levels. And so I suggest that you do the same as well. So this is typically what I do. For the 4 elemental breaths, I'll start off to see how I'm feeling. Now, by the time I'm done tapping, I usually feel pretty good, so I could typically skip past a couple of the breaths, because we have different breaths that help us with different things. So depending on what it is, will determine what the breath will be. Now, with all of our breathing, is like with EFT, you need to start with some kind of scale of 1 to 10, unless, of course, you're completely neutral or flatlined, in which case you're not going to start with the water or the fire breath, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So if there's something bothering you, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling angry, whatever it is, give yourself, 1 to 10 where you're at, so that we can, kind of figure out where you're going to be in the aftermath of this, to figure out if you're making any progress or not. All right. So you want to sit with your spine. It's supposed to be spine, not spin, straight. Hands in your lap, and then you close your eyes, and you're going to begin breathing. So with the water breath is what you start off with if you're not feeling good. You're feeling depressed, you're feeling like anxiety ridden, you're feeling upset about something, you'll start with water. This could be depressed about not having the success you want in life, or depressed about whatever it is. You can start with water. The water breath. And then what you do is you breathe in as deeply as you possibly can. And then you breathe in, you imagine that you're breathing in like an aqua green color, or, kind of like an aqua blue color. And then you hold it for 3 seconds. And then you slowly, you release it out. But you breathe in with your mouth and out through your mouth. So that's typically how the water breath works. So this is, again, for those of you that start off your meditation feeling depressed, feeling anxiety-ridden, feeling emotionally distraught, you start off with the water breath, all right? Breathe in through your mouth, and then you breathe out through your mouth. And then when you release your breath, you imagine, release through your nose, You imagine that you have a waterfall running over you. So as you release through your nose, you imagine that there's a waterfall that's dumping over your body, and then you repeat this about 10 to 12 times depending on how anxiety-ridden or how depressed you feel. I can tell you right now that by the time you get to the 6th breath, you're going to feel really elated. You're going to feel like you're able to let go of anything that's bothering you. So again, you suck the air through your lips as if you're sucking in through a straw, and then you imagine that the air that you're breathing in is aquamarine in color. And then you hold it for 3 to 5 seconds after you breathe it in as deeply as you possibly can. And then you let it go through your nose, and you imagine that there is a waterfall spilling over you. And again, by the time you're at the 6th breath, you're going to feel really good. You're going to be probably down from a 10 to a 3. And if you're down to a 3, you still want to keep breathing until you're down to a 1. You want to just basically get rid of any thoughts that are in your mind. You don't want to imagine anything else except for the 2 things I told you about, which is the aquamarine breath and the waterfall, and that's it. And part of the reason why you imagine those things is just to keep all the other stuff blocked out of your brain so that other thoughts are not seeping in. And then once you are done with your breathing, you pause for a moment, you enjoy your thoughtless mind, and then you find out where you are on numbers, on your number scale. You want to be 1 or less to feel successful with the breath. Now, say, for example, you're starting off this whole thing with anger instead of emotional distraughtness. And so if you're starting off with anger, then you'll start off with the fire breath. So the fire breath is typically what everybody does when they're stressed out automatically. Your body and your brain automatically do the fire breath, which is in through your nose and out through your mouth. And so for the fire breath, you want to breathe deeply in through your nose, imagining that you're breathing in, red air, and then you'll hold it for 1 to 3 seconds, and then you will breathe it out through your mouth and imagine that you're a fire-breathing dragon and that you're releasing fire out through your mouth. And you're going to keep doing this until you get that number from a 10 or an 8 or wherever you're at on the anger scale and down to a 1. All right, and by the time you're done with either the water breath or the fire breath, you're going to be on cloud 9 if you did it correctly. You keep repeating this until you really feel like your head is buzzing. You're going to start to notice that your energy is going to start raising, all right? Now, the earth breath. Many of you might be able to start with the earth breath after you're done tapping, because you might not need the one for anxiety or depression, which would be the water breath, or for anger or hatred, which would be the fire breath. You might not need any of that because you've already done the tapping. So if you've already done the tapping, you can skip past those 2 breaths and just go to the earth breath. However, if you're just sitting down to meditate for the first time, you didn't do any EFT tapping because you don't want to, or you don't have time to, or you don't feel like you want to tap through anything, then you start with either the water breath or the fire breath. And then once you completely flatline from that, meaning that you have no negative thoughts whatsoever or no negative feelings, then you can start with the earth breath. This is the breath that makes you feel grounded. And so with the earth breath, you basically imagine that you're breathing in earth through your nose and out through your nose. And so it's basically you breathing in deeply through your nose and then out through your nose. So you can either, imagine that you're breathing in wet dirt or the smell of freshly cut grass, which is my favorite. You breathe in very deeply, and then you let go after 3 seconds and you breathe out through your nose, imagining that you're releasing, the smell of wet dirt or the smell of dirt, or just imagining that you're breathing out a beige color. And you concentrate on your breathing alone and nothing else. And so this is why we have imagery of these, whether it's the freshly cut grass or whatever it is, because we want to block out any other thoughts from coming in. So this grounds you. And then also too, this is what we call the gratitude breath, meaning that you want to feel a sense of gratitude for, having the wonderful food you eat, and gratitude for having the wonderful things and the people that you have in your life. This is where we feel gratitude, because gratitude starts to pull in also to the things that we want in life. Because when the universe believes that you feel gracious for the things that you have already, then the universe wants to give you more of those things. And so this is the point where we're going to be feeling gratitude, because this is the breath we have to do before we do what we call our manifestation breath. And our manifestation breath is actually our air breath. And so the air breath is how we start to manifest what we want in life. And so this is when we feel like we're already vibrating high. You cannot start with the air breath. You usually have to start with, in the very least, the earth breath for grounding you. So typically you'll start with either the water breath if you're feeling depressed, or the fire breath if you're feeling anxiety, anger. You'll start with one of those two, and then you'll move into the earth breath. Once you're done with the earth breath and you're feeling really good, then, and only then, when you've raised your energy, are you ready for the air breath and ready to be able to start manifesting what you want in life. So the air breath is in through, let's do this correctly now, because I'm going to do it with you guys, okay? So the air breath, it's in through your mouth and out through your mouth. So in, but you don't have to suck it through the way you do with the water breath. And this is how it's different than the water breath. With the air breath, you suck it in not like a straw, just like normally, okay? So you just basically breathe the air in through your mouth slowly and deeply as you possibly can, imagining the crispest, most fresh air, like there would be like a winter night somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere in the East Coast. And you imagine that coming into your lungs, and then you slowly but surely breathe out through your mouth. So that's how it's different than the water breath, is that you don't have the straw sucking in the air like you normally do with the water breath. So this is how it's slightly different. And then you blow it out of your mouth, which is the water breath is out through your nose. And so in through your mouth, and then hold it, and then out through your mouth. And this is only after you hit that high level of vibration through the earth breath or through your other breaths that you're able to do this one, because this is your manifestation breath. So you're going to be doing this about 10 to 12 times. If you're short on time, you'll be doing it about 6 times. And this is the breath for manifestation, where, after you've done your gratitude and your grounding with the earth breath, then you start to what we call deliberately manifest whatever it is that you want in life. So how do you do that? Well, remember, we're not going to be doing visualization, and we're not going to be doing any affirmations at this point. When you start to feel what you want, meaning, how does it feel when you have the money that you want? How does it feel to have the perfect ideal business? How does it feel to have the perfect investment opportunity? How does it feel? Feel it only in the pit of your stomach. You're not going to be, if you need visualization aids, for example, and you need to visualize that mansion or that beach house or whatever it is, that could help you, but concentrate mostly on how it feels in the pit of your stomach. And that's where the visualization becomes very powerful and can actually start to manifest these things in your life, because you're feeling it at the pit of your stomach, and then you're getting to the point where you know without a doubt that it's coming to you. Remember, when you're putting orders into the universe, you're putting an order in, just like you'd order anything else. One of these days, when you start to order luxury cars, you're going to understand what it means to order a car, and how you have to wait sometimes a couple days or a week. With the last car I got, my BMW that I have, it was a special order car. I had to order it because I wanted it with certain specs. I wanted a certain color, so I had to wait about 4 or 5 days for them to get this car from another dealership in California for me. And so it's not like I put in the order and then I'm sitting there in the corner chewing on my nails wondering whether or not I'm going to get the car. It's like, no, I put the order in. I know it's going to show up. It's going to show up when it's supposed to show up, and then I move on with the other things that I need to do in my life. And you need to do the same thing too. The problem with most people and why they fail to manifest what they want in life is because they put it out there, and then they sit there and they start doubting, oh, am I going to get it? I don't know. I doubt I'm going to get it. I'm probably not going to get it. I'm not going to get this. And they hang on to it, and then they doubt that it's going to come to them. Well, you need to treat this as if this is any other order you're putting in for anything else you'd order, whether you're ordering something on Amazon or you're ordering a special order vehicle or something like that. You have to know that once you put the order's in, you know it's going to come when it's supposed to come, and then you let it go. You have to do it that way. Otherwise, it's not going to have the time and the space to be able to manifest itself for you. All right? Plus, the second you start doubting that you're going to get it, it's just going to scare it away. You're not going to be able to attract it in your life. So the other thing, too, I should mention is that you don't want to be manifesting all these 20 different things at once. You want to actually start with one thing at a time. So start with something easy, like whether it's manifesting a new puppy, or manifesting, maybe a couple $1,000s that you'd be able to make or get from someone, or be able to attract in your life. Something kind of easy to do, so that you can start building up the confidence that you truly are a magic genie in and of yourself. All right, and you do need to be able to build up your confidence to be able to attract more and more things. So start kind of small, things that you can attract within a short period of time, and then start moving up into the bigger stuff. So again, you can start to get that knowing within yourself that you do have the power to attract anything and everything that you want. And so again, once you do this exercise of feeling it in the pit of your stomach, that you have this, that you can, that it's yours, you're just putting in an order for it, and that you are going to get it without a doubt, you then need to let it go. And then you let it go, you let God manifest it. And I always add one little thing to it too. I says, this or something better will come to me. And so that way, if you're trying to manifest something that's not good for you, then the universe will quickly correct it and give you something that's more suitable for you and what you should be having to make you happier, to be able to make sure that you're safe and you're well with the stuff that you're getting. So again, that's very important. This or something better shall manifest itself for me, is what you need to add as the very last thing. And that's pretty much the only verbal thing that I throw in there at the very end. And then I let it go. And I say let go and let God manifest it in accordance to divine order. And when it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen, and that's it. And you could try one desire for a solid week and then let it go for a while, and then maybe even work on a second desire, or just wait. But I like to kind of toggle between a couple different desires. So I'll start with one maybe for a couple days or a week, and then I'll let it go, let the universe put the order in and start creating it for me. And then I might work on another desire, and then maybe in a week after that I'll come back. But by then, usually I have all the stuff that I want by then anyway, unless it's a really, really big manifestation that I want to do, in which case it might take a month or two to manifest. So that's typically how I do it. And this, by utilizing the strategy, you can actually attract anything and everything that you want in your life, provided that you get to the point where you're raising your energy and knowing without a doubt that will actually come to you. And of course, you always say, this or something better will come to me. And that's basically all there is to it. There really is no other secret beyond that, except for what I'm going to share with you in the next presentation, which is absolutely critical for you to be able to get even more than what you could ever possibly dream in your wildest desires and imagination, which we'll talk about in the next presentation. But again, the secret, coincidentally, that The Secret actually left out, the book The Secret, the video of The Secret, the real secret is by going high with the vibration and then attracting all the rest of the stuff that's already attracting or already vibrating at that high level. That's where you need to be vibrating if you're going to be attracting what you want in your life. And by the way, what I should mention too is that you're going to be happy as hell by just simply vibrating at a higher level. And you'll be happy, and you'll be ecstatic, and you'll be wanting to bounce out of bed in the morning because you're going to be so excited about life. And you're going to have all of that in the interim while your stuff is being created for you by the universe. And so it's basically a win-win situation. So you're going to be happy now, feeling like you won the lottery now, because you're going to be raising your vibrational levels by simply doing the EFT as well as the breathing exercises. And then you'll also be attracting the things that you want because you'll be vibrating at that higher level. And that's the only level that all the good stuff is hanging out. That's the level that all of the stuff that you desire is already at. You just have to meet it at that level. And the only way to do that is to actually start vibrating much, much higher, which I showed you how to do in this presentation. Okay, everybody. So getting on your meditations. You can meditate between 15 to 20 minutes a day starting off. And just you'll start to feel that buzzing in your head, in your mind, and you're going to feel great when you actually start the process of vibrating at a higher level. So start meditating today, and meditate every single day, and keep that energy level up high. Try to do it in the morning before you go to work and before you go off into the world, so that you can share with the world that higher vibrational level. And you'll notice that everything will go much better in your day simply by vibrating at a higher level. People will be nicer to you, you'll be nicer to everybody else, and it's just going to be just a wonderful, wonderful addition to your life. All right, everybody, this is Monica Main. I'm signing off. I'll see you at the top.